What's up, Tiger Nation? Steve Leslie, YSNLive.com, your home of the Springfield Tigers. Tuesday night at the Tigers table. Come on down every Tuesday night. It's Tiger night here. Cannot thank Melissa and Rob and Tiffany and Debbie for all they do for all of us at YSN and all they do for Coach and the Springfield Tigers athletic programs. Proud to be joined by head ball coach, Coach Guerriero. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Another good night here. A lot of people. It's good to see our kids coming out.
Is that good for you to see? I always say it's a good chance for your players to come up and talk. And they all do such a great job. They talk about themselves. But the thing that I notice most about this group, they're close. They're together. Doesn't really matter what grades they're in. And they get a chance to communicate. And maybe 30 years ago, we didn't have those opportunities that these guys get now.
No, when you see it's good to see them all sitting at the same table and having fun and laughing. And I mean, you see the day-to-day grind of the kids and everything we do at practice and how hard they practice and the effort they put in. So then I'm seeing them on the other side of it where they can sit down and relax and have something to eat and laugh and just have good times. I mean, I don't know. People always saying I still go back to my days of playing, whether it's at YSU or whether that's at Poland. You mean the relationships that you make and the memories that you create with these guys. These kids are going to have them, you know what I mean, for a lifetime.
Yeah, there's no doubt. With Coach Guerriero, had Coach Miller on. One of my favorite guys to talk to, has been with you a long time, and he put it back. Like, you guys take this very seriously. You work very hard at what you do. But you also have a very good time as a group in what you're doing. Your staff does a very good job. But you guys also have a bond together that there's fun times. And I asked Bill, if it's not fun anymore, then you have to make some choices. You either stop doing it or you continue to find a way to make it fun for kids. I think you guys and your staff do a great job at that.
Well, I think it still comes down to for the kids. It still comes down to holding the kids, you know what I mean, accountable. And I think, with that, our kids realize it. You can't. We just talked a little bit just about films and stuff. You're not going to be able to trick the kids or tell them this or that. Our kids watch film, they study. I don't think people realize the amount of time and effort our kids put into it too. Now the staff on the other, on the other hand, when we're sitting on Saturdays and Sundays together for hours and breaking down film and trying to make sure we're getting our kids in great situations for them to succeed. That's the time for us that, we do have good times too. And I've been very fortunate as a head coach to be able to have my staff really stay together. And then, with the guys that I've lost, whether that's, Paul Butto and Mark Brungard, those guys, but then I lose Paul Butto, I pick up Mark Brungard. I lose Mark, I pick up Paul Julia. So the guys on our staff that have been together for, there's guys that have been on our staff for 16, 17 That's years.
Fantastic.
Coach Slopek's been there since I've been there. Coach Antonucci's been there for 16 years. Like I just said, Pope's come along. Bill's been, probably with me for, 14, 15 years. It just puts us in a good situation because the systems and you're not recoaching stuff. And
coaches know their roles. Is that fair to say?
What's that?
They all know their roles.
Oh, with the roles and what they're
Coach
doing.
Slopek, I love him. One day I'm going to get one week. We're going to get Coach Slopek on here. I'm going to get with my boy Coach Beam. No, but they all know their roles.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I talk about my staff, and nobody will sit down and not be quiet. We could have a staff meeting or come together, and there's I don't care what coach or how many wins or games they've won or state championships, and I tell our kids this a lot. We've got, you got Coach Pope that's coached in the state championship. You got Paul Julia's that won it. Coach Antonucci played in one.
Absolutely.
Adam Slopek played at Mount. That they won multiple national championships. So, I think that does pay off in the long run because the kids are still, and today we had a great practice. It's almost like they're learning still how to practice and the intensity that we need to bring. So I always talk to our guys when we go to clinics and things like that. You're never too old to learn or end up coming from a situation or an experience. So I've been very blessed that there's no egos in our coaches' room. I just pick up Paul's his first year, and Paul's been everywhere. I think I think he's been to 10 or 11 different places.
That's fantastic. So shout out to your staff, no doubt of what they do. Let's go back to Friday night. Good football game. Talked with Jake and talked with Wyatt, and they both said not one of the best football games the Tigers have played, but you're still pretty dominant. What did you see after you go back and watch it?
Well, I think right now our defense is playing pretty well. I think the past couple games we've held the teams. I know it's under 150. They might be under 120. So our defense right now is we're recognizing, you know what I mean, and still reading our keys, but recognizing plays and getting downhill and running to the football. They've been on fire right now the past couple of weeks. Offensive, I think our special teams actually played well too. When you get to that, it's the first time we punted in a couple games.
Right.
We had 3 punts inside the 15.
That's fantastic. That's a big part of the game as you get moving on.
When you make long field, then our kickoff team, we had 2 tackles inside the 20. And those are goals that we talk about with our kids. And when you get one, that's where we give out those helmet stickers and stuff to end up doing it. Offensively, I thought we played, you know what I mean, pretty well. We maintained the clock. You know what I mean? Dante got banged up a little bit. Kaysen took the majority of the carries. And it worked out well. I think he had 140-some yards on the ground. And that shows with our line. You know what I mean? We talk about our kids and making sure we need to buckle up. So Kaysen was, you know, taking a little bit more offensive reps. But those guys ended up doing a great job. I mean, we left some points on the board where I felt we didn't execute, but that's something that we got to work on. I mean, those are missed opportunities that anytime we have a chance to put points on, you know what I mean, on the board, we have to do that. And people don't, I mean, same thing when you talk about the red zone or everybody talks about, you know, I mean, with the NFL or college, we got to make sure we come out with points. And it's overall, I mean, I'm happy with it, but there's still things that we need to work on and be more effective and more efficient.
Yeah, after a big win, you said had a good week. This week's been great weather-wise, and it looks good. And then it's going to get a little colder and rain on the weekend. Do you see him getting better every day in practice? That's one of the things I know you take a lot of pride in. The goal right now is to get better each day, to get better each game. From what I see, I see that happening. I see a group that continues to get better from week 1 till now. But I also agree with all the things you say that I think it's a group that there's still a lot out there to improve at and get better at. Is that fair to say?
It is. I put a quote, and I told this after practice to our kids. I put a quote on my scouting report. We usually put a quote, me and Coach Slopek, on our scouting reports. And my quote was, I mean, I think we're on the right track, but we can't just sit there or you'll get run over. So right now we're moving in the right direction. Sure. But if we don't progress through that, we're not going to make a run, and people don't realize we're starting to get down to the end of the season. Again, I think our kids are really starting to execute and get good at the basic things, the fundamentals of it. Where we're starting to see a ton of looks. People are, it's almost like they're going to start doing maybe some things that are unsound to try to stop our run game, and that's what's going to. Right now between Dante and Kaysen and Kuboff, those guys in the backfield. Davin McKinney's a kid who's starting to come along, who was injured for about 4 or 5 weeks. He's starting to get back into the mix with that. So those guys and being able to get better and get reps has been great. But we just need to make sure that we progress, and we got to prepare for the long run of this thing, making sure that we're healthy and making sure we're executing, because when it comes down to it, it's going to come down to turning the ball over and missing a block. And even at the beginning of the game, we missed a couple key blocks up front that we were trying to get off on linebackers, not sustaining our blocks up front. But our kids play hard, and sometimes you can get away with a little bit of that.
Well, let's continue that. Mineral Ridge will come to town Friday night. We'll have it for you on YSN Live. Senior night, it's a big thing for this group. Talk about them. Their last regular season game as seniors, you have those ceremonies. Had homecoming last week. As a coach, you like to see those things. Does it change agendas and plans for a football team? Yes, a little bit, but it's also going to be a special night for the senior group.
It will be. And throughout this is something that you really don't – I guess it really hasn't affected me in the past, because the kids are rolling through.
Now you have a senior that you're going to be walking out.
Now that my son is, it's like I just can't believe how fast the season's going. So, I can remember when we're prepping for week 1, and it seems like that was yesterday. But going through the process, now seeing Sean and having him there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I remember when he was, 7 years old, being the ball boy and stuff. So I don't think it really has hit me yet that we're gonna do this. I kind of hope it doesn't, because I'm enjoying myself with this group of kids. And we got to make a couple adjustments for pregame just to make sure our kids are out there and taking the picture. And I know it's something that, it's something we should be doing and celebrating the senior class. So I'm happy for the kids. I'm really happy on the way the kids have responded through some adversity that we ended up having. Through the past weeks, or different mistakes we need to work on. So far, I feel good as a head coach progressing, but for senior night, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
I don't think you're ever ready for that. I really don't. But I would tell you, enjoy every second of that, because that's something that your wife and you will always remember. You're a great football coach, but you're also a great husband and dad. I think that you will take great pride in that, knowing you Friday night and enjoy that. But then it's game time. Like, you have to.
Yeah, you're definitely flipping the switch on.
Take that cap off, and now it's game time. So let's get to game time. What, in your opinion, is the biggest thing for getting another big victory against a Mineral Ridge team Friday night?
Well, I look at it as the challenges that we're going to have. This is a team that Ridge is going to spread the ball out,
sure.
which most of the teams that we've had, whether they're running wing T or whether they are keeping the ball inside on the inside running game, that they are going to kind of spread the ball out. So we're going to find out, even our secondary is going to find out if we can tackle in space and, you know what I mean, run to the football and make sure they're going to get the ball to the guys in space, where we got to make sure we make some open field tackles, and our angles are going to be important on this one. So it'll definitely be a challenge for our defense. It's supposed to rain. That's something that we've practiced in it.
Right, but haven't really had to play a game in rain all year, I want to say, right? I mean,
we have not. This would be the first one. If the weather holds up, that we might end up getting rain out, which is still okay. But that's to make sure when we talk about details and things like that. You know, offensively, the challenges are going to be, we got to make sure we stay underneath, or we get the snap. Snap's the most important thing. We really don't want to put ourselves, if we get ourselves in negative plays, I mean, that's going to be something that we need to make sure that we kind of condense and don't have happening. And we see our kids, you got to protect the ball in these games, where if it does pour or rain or the weather, is affecting.
More vital.
And then it really puts some different emphasis, on some of our ball boys. I mean, that's something that we take pride in. So we got to make sure that we talk to them and we're getting a new ball in as much as we can, so that ball's not soaked. So there'll be some challenges throughout, throughout the game that our kids are going to have to face. But it's still going to come down to take care of the ball and execute, and then hopefully we get our running game fired up and try to eat up some clock and shorten the game.
Well, let's go. Fire it up Friday night. Come on down, check them out. If you can't, we'll have it for you on ysnlive.com. Coach, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the weather, and best of luck Friday night.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
All right.